We are meant to call from out of the past stories, strange and weird.
Tales of mystery and terror by radio's masters of the macabre.
Stories of the supernatural, the supernormal, dramatized in fantasy, the mystery, the unknown. We tell you this frankly, so if you wish to avoid the excitement and tension of these imaginary plays, we urge you calmly and sincerely to turn off your radio now.
This is The Horror. Welcome back. Thanks for joining me this Saturday. We'll hear from Beyond Midnight this week, South African series that aired from November 1st, 1968 to April 24th, 1970. Produced 78 episodes. Our story today is The Evil Face. This one first aired April 11th, 1969.
There are certain people, often well enough liked, genial souls whom one is always glad to meet, yet who have the faculty of disappearing without being missed. Crutchley was one of them. It wasn't until his name was mentioned casually that evening at the Stour gate that most of us remembered we hadn't seen him for the last year or two.
Yes, I remember I was talking to old Crutchley at the time.
Oh, he's awfully sweet. I always liked him. Wasn't it queer? He seemed to have dropped completely out of things.
For the last year or two, he's been living very quietly with his people in Norfolk.
Oh, really?
I heard from him only the other day, as a matter of fact.
Oh, I never.
I wonder why he's chosen to face himself. He was rather a lamb in his way. I used to adore that shiny black hair of his, which always made me think of fate and leather.
It's as white as the ceiling now.
Pardon?
I said it's as white as the ceiling now.
Oh, no. We're speaking of Simon Crutchley.
I mean Simon Crutchley.
But that lovely, sleek hair. What happened? Did he have a nervous breakdown?
Something like that.
Biotex, the new soak and pre-wash powder, presents Beyond Midnight by Michael McCabe.
In this series of programs, ladies, it's our intention to talk to you about Biotex and promote it to you for the laundry. Now, we've made claims that Biotex will get rid of the stubbornest stains just by soaking. I dare say, like others, you feel a bit skeptical about these claims, and so we've been collecting letters from ladies who use Biotex, just to quote you from time to time in order to authenticate our advertisement. And Mrs. O'Dell from Beach Road, Sea Point in the Cape, wrote and said that Biotex is a very welcome product for the household. Biotex has a unique quality that it does what it claims to do. Mrs. Dove finished by saying, I have proved your claims about Biotex and am delighted with the results. And then Mrs. Rita Stewart of Hans Stratham Avenue, Littleton, Transvaal, said, we have tried your Biotex for all our children's clothes and also white underclothing, and we're absolutely amazed at the change in their appearance. And I can assure you, said Mrs. Stewart, that I will be a regular user of Biotex. So, buy Biotex for yourself and your laundry.
Cold, isn't it?
Good of you, Andy. Share your cab like this.
Our ways lie in the same direction. There was a method in my madness, Price, old man. I wanted to ask you about Crutchley.
Oh.
I smell a story.
Yes. It's a queer and rather terrible story. There's even one bit that he couldn't or wouldn't tell. So no one but he knows what the sight was that sent him off his head for 6 months and turned his hair as white as snow. The night's young yet. Come to my place and have a drink. I'll tell you all I know. Driver. Anyway, he was greatly interested in Joan of Arc, you see, and decided to go over to France to work, as it were, on the spot. I don't know if you like Rouen. Crutchley was delighted with it. He found a hotel practically undiscovered by the English and the Americans. L'Hôtel d'Avignon. It stands halfway down one of those old-world streets near the Gare de la Rouge en d'Arc. Crutchley liked it immediately and decided to stay. It was out of season. There were plenty of rooms. It was a hotel where many ate but few slept. Crutchley then had a choice of rooms on the first floor.
Monsieur?
Well, this seems... There's a little garden out here.
Oui, monsieur. The hotel is very old. It is built onto the side of the hill. The garden...
And the garden's a story above the street. Oh, I care for this. There won't be much sun, will it, though? Oh, that's a plane tree, isn't it?
Monsieur?
Yes, I think it is. It's so quiet. Reminds me of some of the little squares in the Inns of Court.
Oui, monsieur.
Yes, please. I should like this room. Please arrange my luggage to be sent up. I'm a writer, you see, and the garden appeals to me as a place to work.
It never occurred to our friend that a square, enclosed on all sides by brick and almost completely starved of sunlight, would be something of an unhealthy place. He was quite fascinated. The very next day he took pen and writing materials, and sitting on one of the decrepit paint-peeling seats, he started on his study of the Maid of Orleans. To begin with, his writing wasn't successful. I think Crutchley mistook the almost unnatural silence for peace. Instead, the lack of noise bred in him an indefinable restlessness. It was almost a relief to break off from his labors and go out into the little town. Crutchley had 5 days at the hotel, 5 fruitless days as far as work went, when something strange happened. It was his habit to undress in the dark because his window was overlooked by dozens of others. One night he was smoking and stepping into his pajama trousers when he wandered over the window and looked out.
Plane tree might be carved out of jade. Nothing stirring at all.
He looked down to the old green seat where he'd tried to work only that morning. With a faint, unreasonable thrill and a slight tingling of the nostrils, he realized that someone was sitting there.
It's a woman.
Yes, a woman. She sat with her head turned away. One arm was thrown along the sloping back of the seat. He said that her attitude was one of extreme dejection, of abject and complete despair.
Woman? This time at night? Can't see. I could never see her face. Not even from one of the windows on the western side. Scarf she's wearing hides completely. You can never know the sorrows of others. So many people in this world, in every country. Alone. Crutchley, you're a romantic. Probably one of the chambermaids had a tiff with the head waiter. She didn't look.
And then he went to bed, but made no effort to sleep. Instead, he lay there, his mind full of the woman and her attitude upon the old leaning seat. He had a definite and urgent temptation to go out and look at her, to use force, if necessary, in turning her face, so that he might look into her eyes. Finally, he could bear it no longer.
She's gone. Yes, I didn't expect her to sit there all night, did you, Crutchley?
Come in.
Good morning, monsieur.
Good morning.
You sleep well, monsieur?
I got so. Well, I tell you what, been meaning to ask you for the last week. Can I have a harder pillow?
Monsieur?
Pillow. Harder. I'm sorry, my French is about as good as my Lithuanian. I don't speak that at all. Pillow. This thing here. Harder.
Oui, oui.
Yeah, thanks. Oh, one more thing. Who's the lady who sits out there in the garden late at night? I mean, I say sits. Well, she was here last night anyway. Somehow, though, I did have the feeling that she might go there often. Who is she? A sort of sad-looking woman.
The chambermaid turned towards the window. Our friend saw a rapid movement of her right hand. It was done very quickly. Just the touch of her forefinger on her brow and a rapid fumbling of fingers at her breast. But he knew she had made the sign of the cross.
There is no lady standing us, monsieur. Monsieur has been mistaken. Will monsieur take coffee or the English tea?
Darling, let's go out and paint the town red.
But what about your headache?
Oh, that's gone. Grandpa headache powders did the trick.
Grandpa headache powders kill pain, soothe strained nerves, and lift depression. Grandpa headache powders are extra effective because they have a triple action. Grandpa headache powders work extra fast because they dissolve almost immediately. Get fast, effective relief from any pain, all pain. Get Grandpa headache powders.
Grandpa.
Soak. That's all you have to do. Soak. Just for an hour or two, you'll find things look as good as new when you use new Biotex.
Amazing new Biotex acts with a biological action to soak out the stubbornest stains and loosen dirt. New Biotex is great for all textiles and synthetics, whites and colors. It contains no bleach. Get amazing new Biotex today and let soaking do the washing.
The wine list, monsieur.
Oh, thank you, Pierre. Thanks.
Are you quite comfortable in your room, sir?
Oh, quite thanks.
There is a very pleasant room in the front, sir. It's quite so big, and then there is the sun. Perhaps you like it better, sir, huh?
The white wine there, please. How do you pronounce it, Pierre?
Le Cromertin, monsieur. Oh, good choice, very good. The room, sir. In the front, sir?
No, thanks. No. I shouldn't get a wink of sleep. You see, none of your motor traffic seems to be equipped with silencers. With trams, motor horns, and market cars bumping about all over the place across those cobbles, I should never get any peace.
Very good, monsieur.
But he wants on a trail of something queer here. The chambermaid's been talking to him, obviously. I wonder what's wrong. What they think is wrong.
Crutchley forgot about it for a little while and tucked into the very excellent food they served at l'Hôtel d'Avignon. When the head waiter returned to his table, though, with the wine, he reopened the subject.
Why do you want me to change my room?
I do not wish for you to change your room if you are satisfied, monsieur.
When I am not satisfied, I say so. So, why do you think I may not be?
I only wish for you to be more comfortable, sir. There is no sun behind the house. It is better to be where the sun comes sometimes. Besides, I think monsieur is one who sees.
The head waiter's last remark seemed cryptic, but our friend let it go. He didn't feel like discussing the sad lady he'd seen at any length with Pierre. During the afternoon and evening, Crutchley tried to work. He was incapable of concentration, though. He knew, and he was angry with himself because he knew, that he was eking out his patience until night came, in the hope of seeing once more that still figure of despair in the garden. Before he even reached the window, he knew he would see her sitting in the same place, He was unable to explain, even to himself, why he knew. It was midnight. She was there, as before, and Cratchit felt his eagerness mingled with an indescribable fear. He seemed to hear a cry of warning from the honest workaday world into which he had been born. He said it was like starting on a voyage, feeling no motion from the ship, and then being suddenly aware of the spreading space of water between the vessel and the quay.
Madam, look at me. Madam, let me see your face. Then I must come to you.
Monsieur. Where are you going, sir?
What the devil's got to do with you?
The devil, eh? Bien, monsieur. I think perhaps he has something to do with it. You will please have the goodness to return to your room. No, not the room which you have left, sir. That is not a good room. But come with me, I shall show you another.
What do you mean by interfering with me? It's not a prison or an asylum. I'm going to the garden for a breath of fresh air before I go to sleep.
That, sir, is impossible. The air of the garden is not good at night. Besides, the doors are locked, and the patron, he have the keys.
You're blasted insolent, that's what you are. Tomorrow I'll report you. Now get out of my way. Is you for a thief because I leave my room at midnight? Mind? I can reach the garden from my window. What are you doing, man?
Monsieur, bon Dieu has sent me to save you. I have waited tonight because I know you must try to enter the garden. Have I your permission to enter your room with you and speak with you a little while?
It's bedlam. Oh, if you must.
I do not think she is there, sir, because I am here and I do not see. Monsieur is the one who sees, as I tell him this morning. But he will not see her when he is with one who does not see.
What are you talking about? Who is she?
Who she is, I cannot say, sir.
And the head waiter blessed himself with quick, nervous fingers.
But who she was, I can perhaps tell you.
You mean to try and tell me she's what they call a ghost, apparition, or some blasted thing?
It does not matter what one calls her, monsieur. She is here sometimes for certain who are able to see her. Monsieur wishes very much to see her face. Monsieur must not see it. There was one who looked 5 years ago, and another perhaps 7, 8. The first he make die after 2-3 days. The other, he is still mad. That is why I come to save you, monsieur. There was in this town a notary of the name Lebrun. And in a village halfway from here to Dieppe is a grand chateau in which there lived a lady, une jeune fille, with a father and mother. And the lady was very beautiful, but not very good, monsieur.
Well, go on. Though I don't quite see what this has to do with...
You will, please. Eh bien, Monsieur Lebrun fell in love with her. I think she loved him too, better as all the others. So he made application for her hand. But he was bourgeois and she was aristocrat. He had not so very much money, and the application, it was refused. And so they find for her another husband who she loved not, and she finds herself someone else, and there is divorce. And she have many lovers, for she was very beautiful, but not so very good. For 10 years, perhaps, she make her beauty to make slaves of men, and one he made kill himself because of her. But she does not mind. And all the time, Monsieur Lebrun, he does not marry because he could not love another woman. But at last, this lady, she have a dreadful accident. It is a lamp which blow up and hurt her face. In those days, the surgeons did not know how to make new features. Oh, it was dreadful, monsieur. She had been so lovely, and now she had nothing left except just the eyes. And she go about wearing a long, thick veil because she had become terrible to see. And her lovers, they no longer love. And she have no husband because she have been divorced. What happened? You mean she's the one? So, Monsieur Lebrun, he write to her father, and once more he make offer for her hand. The father, he is willing because she no longer very young and she is terrible to see. But the father, he's a man of honor, monsieur, and he insists that Monsieur Lebrun see her face before he decide if he still wish her in marriage. So a meeting is arranged, and her father and her mother bring her here to this hotel. The lady come with them wearing her thick veil. She insists to see Monsieur Lebrun alone. So she wait out there in the garden. Love is not always what we think it. Perhaps Monsieur Lebrun think all the time that his love go deeper than her beauty, and when he see her dreadful, changed face, he find out the truth. Perhaps when she put aside the veil, she see that he flinch. But Monsieur Lebrun, he walk out alone, and she stays sitting on the seat down there. And presently her mother and her father come, but she does not speak or move. And in her hand they find a little empty bottle, monsieur. She... all her life she lived for love. Lebrun is the last of her lovers. When he no longer love, then that is the last of everything. She had bring the bottle with her in case he does not love. So, it happened a long time ago. And now perhaps Monsieur understand why perhaps it is better he sleep in the front of the building tonight and change his hotel tomorrow.
But why does she come back?
How do we know, monsieur? She's a thing of evil. When her face was lovely while she lived, she used it to destroy men. Now she still uses it to destroy, but otherwise. She has some great evil power which draw those who can see her. They feel they must not rest until they have looked upon her face. And that face is not good to look upon.
Another drink handy, old man?
No thanks. Listen, that can't be all. Poor old Crutchley. But that can't be all.
No, it isn't quite all. I wish that it were. Crutchley was scared. He changed his room, and the next day he moved out. He went to another hotel, tried to work, but couldn't. The horror of the thing had a fascination for him. And the next night, as it started to get dark, he asked himself why he shouldn't go and look. He was compelled.
Why shouldn't I go and see? It couldn't hurt me. Not if I look from a distance.
He didn't realize that she was drawing him to her. He went to the Hotel d'Avignon. He walked around the building twice and then walked straight in through the swing doors as if he still stayed there. He went to the first floor and found one of the doors that led into the walled garden. It was late and the door was unlocked. He just stood there, staring in horror at that which sat upon the seat. He was drawn like a moth to a candle flame.
Madam? Please, look at me. Madam, let me see your face. Madam, look at me. Adam, I know your story and I pity you. Allow me to see your face.
He was lost. He knew it. The power was too strong for him. He bent over her. That's the part Crutchley can't really describe. There weren't any features left in her face. But it wasn't just that. It was something much worse, much more subtle. Something happened, I know, before his sense left him. Poor devil, he couldn't tell me. He's getting better, though. Nerves still in shreds, of course. And he has one or two peculiar aversions.
What are they?
He can't bear to be touched. Or to hear anybody laugh.
Now, ladies, we're speaking about biotechs in this series of programs, and Mrs. E.B. Granger of Gordon Road, Heathfield in the Cape, wrote to say that she decided to try our biotechs just to see if it lived up to our claims. And she said, I bought a packet, and lo and behold, it actually did just what the advert said. I'm so proud of the children's white shirts, the hankies, and the underwear, that I want to say it will be biotechs for me every washing day from now on. Some of my family's accessories were left with slight stains, but now, thanks to biotech soaking, they come out white, and the stains do go away, as you say. Now, that is the statement from Mrs. Granger of Heathfield of the Cape, and it bears out what we have been saying to you, ladies, ever since biotechs first came on the market. We said to you, it is different to any washing product that you've ever used before. We claim that the stubborn stains will vanish, and people like Mrs. Granger bear out our claims. Remember, biotechs.
Beyond Midnight is presented every Friday night at 9:30 by Biotex, the new soak and pre-wash powder. The program is adapted for broadcasting and produced by Michael McCabe.
That's the horror for this week. You can find more from Beyond Midnight, the horror, thousands of other old-time radio episodes at relicradio.com. Our Shoutcast stream is up and running there too. And don't forget to donate if you'd like to help support this and all of the shows. It's how we keep them coming every week. Visit donate.relicradio.com if you're able to help out, or click on the donate link on the website. Thanks to those who have, and thanks for joining me this week. I'll be back next Saturday with another episode of The Horror.
Strange Tales.
RelicRadio.com presents tales of the strange and bizarre, the weird and the wicked. Stories not necessarily of the supernatural, but of the unnatural. Join us now for Strange Tales, featuring radio drama at its most mysterious and unusual. Welcome back to Strange Tales. Thanks for joining me this Sunday. We're going to hear from the Inner Sanctum this week, a series that aired from January 7th, 1941 to October 5th of 1952, produced over 500 episodes. Our story today is The Magic Tile, their episode from August 10th, 1952.
Inner Sanctum Mysteries. Good evening, friends of the creaking door. This is your host to welcome you into the Inner Sanctum once again. Come in. You know, so many people have asked me to explain the significance of the creaking door, but I don't really have to. You see, the door creaks for itself. I was going to have a friend of mine here tonight to give you a short explanation. Being an undertaker by profession, he's an authority on the subject, but he couldn't make it. He's been so busy. Poor chap. He's literally buried in his work. All right, friend. Let's get dreadful. Now remember, don't scream back at the radio. It won't do you any good. All set? Then listen as we hear our star, Anne Seymour, in the role of Catherine Brine, tell us this story in her own words.
A flash of lightning, like a giant white electric light, lit up the sky that night as I went up the walk. And Bryan Mansion looked like a huge gabled tomb standing there on the hill. For a moment I wanted to run, but much as I hated it, I'd come back. Not because I lived there, not because I wanted to be there, but because in this house I should find out if I was going to live or if I was going to die. I let myself in quietly, made my way to the living room. There was a rustling of skirts, and Mother suddenly appeared in the dim, shadowy light.
Kathy, dear.
Hello, Mother.
Oh, you're so late, I was getting worried.
Was my stepfather worried, too?
Why, yes, dear. Mark is still up. Here, you've got to take your coat off. It's soaked through.
Don't you touch me.
Kathy, darling.
And don't start sniveling over me again, Mother. I can't stand it.
I was just trying to help you.
Always trying to help me. Why didn't you think of helping me before you married that man upstairs? But no. You're such a pretty woman, Mother. You couldn't possibly be without a husband. What would people say?
Catherine, please, you can't go on like this.
No, I can't. I can't go on very much longer without destroying myself.
You must not say such things.
And why not? It'd make you and Mark very happy if I should die, wouldn't it?
Catherine.
No one in this house wants me to go on living.
Good evening, Catherine.
Mark! I didn't know you were here.
I'm aware of that. I heard you.
Mark, she didn't mean it. She didn't mean a word of it.
Oh, but I did. Now that you're both here, there's something I must find out tonight. It's very important.
What is it?
10 years ago, my father died.
Catherine, we can't discuss that now.
We must. I've got to know certain things.
Why?
Because if I don't, something quite dreadful might happen to me.
Now, Catherine, you're exaggerating.
Dr. Wells doesn't think so. I've been going to him for months now. He knows there's grave danger that I'll go completely out of my mind if I don't find out about this.
My poor darling.
Don't pity me, Mother. Help me. Tell me how my father died. You know you were there.
But, Catherine, there's nothing to tell. Your father was killed in an accident. He was a doctor.
That will be enough, Flora.
But, Mark.
We'll call Dr. Wells the first thing in the morning and discuss the matter with him.
Why don't you let her tell me? What have you got to hide?
We are not going to discuss this until I speak to Dr. Wells. Now, Laura, I suggest you come upstairs as soon as possible. Good night, Catherine.
Mother, he's gone. You were going to tell me. Where was this accident? How did it happen? Who was involved?
Kathy, you're in no state to hear anything right now. Mark was right. We should speak to Dr. Wells about it first.
Yes, speak to him. so you both can make up an appropriate lie to tell me. I don't want any lies. I want the truth, Mother. And I'm prepared to go to any length to get it. Look at this.
Now, Catherine.
Look at it, I tell you. Look at it.
What is it?
A woman sold it to me. Today. A strange little woman.
It's a sort of tiny painted tile.
Not just an ordinary tile, Mother. It comes from the Orient, the woman said. Do you see this very odd design? If you look at it long enough, she said, a strange thing will happen. You'll find yourself able to talk with the dead. See them wherever they are. Touch them. Catherine, I'm going to talk to my father.
You can't be serious.
You won't tell me what I want to know. Then maybe the dead will. Mother left the room, and I sat down in front of the fireplace, just as I used to when I was a child. I looked at the tile, at the design. The parallel lines and dots began to dance before my eyes. I stared at it. It seemed to hold, control my gaze. And then almost at once, I felt an icy chill, and the design vanished. In its place, there was black, infinite space, filled with shadows, and still shadows beyond shadows. Then I noticed a speck of gray come out of that blackness. There was a strange, sulphurous odor in the air as it came toward me, at first very slowly, and gradually faster and faster, as though it were coming to me through endless years of space. Suddenly there was an ear-shattering thunderclap. A streak of lightning zigzagged through the room in an insane dance, and I heard the front door close. I heard footsteps approaching. I turned around, faced the doorway, and then I saw him.
Don't scream.
Who are you?
You are Kathy Brine.
You know me?
I did, 10 years ago.
Where did you come from?
Tell me, how do I appear to you?
How you appear?
Yes, please.
You have white hair, white beard, but your eyes... No, it can't be.
What can't be? That my eyes are the eyes of a corpse? That I look more like a dead man than a living one?
Yes.
That should not be so strange.
Who are you? Did you know my father?
Dr. Brine. Very well. Very well indeed.
How did he die? I want to know that.
He was murdered.
Murdered?
Yes, murdered.
How do you know?
I saw it all.
You?
I was punished for it.
You murdered him?
No, I didn't kill him. He was the only friend I had in the world. That's why I came back here tonight. Didn't you ever know how your father died?
No.
Would you like to know?
More than anything in the world.
He was the kindest of men, and that's what led to his destruction. He took a man under his care, a man who had been given up as a raving maniac, and rather than see this man placed in an institution, he kept him in the guest cottage of his house.
Wait, I remember now. The man was a poet.
Yes. His name was Dennis D'Amour. Your father believed this man was a great poet and struggled to save him.
Did this man murder my father?
No. One evening, when your father came in to treat D'Amour, there was a third man in the darkened cottage. This man leaped at your father and drove a knife into his back. The poor madman, frightened, ran over the countryside until he was caught by the police. And he was charged with the murder of your father.
You said you saw all this.
I did.
Then you are...
The madman, Dennis D'Amour.
You're dead?
Perhaps I am.
The murderer. Who was the person who murdered my father?
You know him quite well. He's the man who's now married to your mother, Mark Weldon.
No. Can you prove this?
Your father is the only one who can prove this.
My father. Can you bring him back here?
Bring him back?
You came back. If you could only bring him and prove this.
Prove it? Perhaps I can. Perhaps I will bring him back tonight.
Just then, there was a tremendous thunderclap, and the electric lights failed. I tried to see him by the firelight, but he wasn't in the room. I ran to the door, stumbling over furniture in the shadows and screaming for him to wait. I opened the front door, but he wasn't there.
Kathy, we heard you screaming.
Did you, Mother?
What happened?
I found out how my father died.
Really? How?
He was murdered.
Laura, did you tell her anything?
No, not a word, Mark, I swear. Kathy, how did you find out?
I told you how I'd find out.
That tile.
Yes, it worked.
That's impossible.
Of course you'd say that. But I discovered tonight that you, Mark, murdered my father. That you cleverly arranged that a poor patient of his named Dennis Damour would be arrested for the crime that you committed.
Who told you this?
Dennis Damour.
Damour? Was he here?
Yes. He told me everything.
And you believed him?
Why shouldn't I?
Why, the man's a maniac. I don't know how he ever got here. He should be at the State Institution for the Criminally Insane.
Number, please.
Hello, operator. Will you put through a call to the State Institution for the Criminally Insane at Blyton? I wish to speak to whomever is in charge. And call me back as soon as you get them. It's urgent.
Yes, sir, I understand.
Thank you. Now, Catherine, you claim you actually spoke to this man?
Yes, Mark. He told me he saw you murder my father.
Why, you're lucky you escaped with your life. Well, the man is a homicidal maniac. I find it shocking that you should even begin to believe this fantastic story.
But it seems to be true, Mark, doesn't it? My father was murdered, and Dennis Damour was sent away for the crime.
Yes, that part of it is true. But to accuse me? Laura, we've tolerated her in this enough, but this is... Hello?
Hello, this is Dr. King, the night supervisor of State Institution.
Oh, yes. Hello, Dr. King. This is Mark Weldon speaking. Has one of your patients, Dennis Damour, escaped?
Dennis Damour, the poet?
Yes, that's right. A homicidal maniac.
He hasn't escaped, Mr. Weldon. He was one of the patients who was killed in a fire that broke out in this place 2 years ago.
What's that?
Didn't you hear me?
Yes. Yes, I heard you. Thank you. Goodbye.
Mark, what is it?
Dennis Damour is dead. He was killed 2 years ago.
Well, friend, how'd you like to have a little Chinese tile that can produce dead men for you? Or don't you think that Dennis Damour is a ghost? Perhaps you think he's just an old pop-eyed poltergeist? Well, we'll know in a moment as we hear Catherine Brine tell us the second half of her weird story.
My stepfather's hand trembled as he hung up the phone. And even in the red glow of the firelight, I could see his face had suddenly turned snowy white.
It's impossible. The dead can't come back. Unless you're making up this whole thing, Kathy.
Why should I invent a story like this?
Because you've always been insanely jealous. You've always hated your mother for marrying me. Isn't that true, Laura? Isn't it?
Yes, it's true.
There. You see, Catherine? Your mother loves you. She wouldn't lie. Now tell us the truth. You made up this whole wild tale about Dennis Damour, didn't you?
No, Mark. I didn't invent it. Dennis Damour was here.
He couldn't have been. He's been dead for 2 years.
Then how would I know the things I told you?
I don't know. And that's what you've got to explain.
Mark, why does this upset you so? If you didn't murder him, what difference does it make about Damour? Why are you so frightened?
I'm not frightened. I'm just determined to get to the bottom of this thing. What was that?
Just the thunder, Mark.
Laura, Why are you looking at me like that?
Like what?
Staring at me. As though you've seen me for the first time. Do you believe this mad story Catherine's told us? Do you think I murdered her father?
I just remembered certain things, Mark. I can't help it if I think of them now.
What things? Tell me what things?
2 days before the murder, you told me you were in love with me. I sent you away, told you never to come to this house again.
Go on.
On the night of the murder, I saw you standing in the moonlight, near the guest cottage.
You did?
I thought I was mistaken, especially since you claimed you were at home that night. Oh, Mark, don't be angry with me. I can't help it thinking of these things now. It's only natural.
Natural? Is it natural for a man's wife to accuse him of a crime like murder? And on the basis of what? The word of a psychopathic girl who should have been confined long ago. She talked to a man who's been dead for 2 years. I suppose you believe that, too. And who is this man, even assuming that he's alive? A madman. A homicidal maniac who took your first husband's life when your husband tried to cure him. Well, I've had enough of this.
Mark, what are you taking out of that drawer?
Kathy, come here.
Why? Mark, put the gun away.
Shut up, Laura. Now, Kathy, I won't hurt you unless you try something dangerous. I'm holding this gun because I believe your mother and I are no longer safe in the same room with you. Now, I want the truth. You were lying to us before, weren't you?
No.
Very well, then. Where is this man you saw? I'd like to see him, too.
I don't know.
Of course you don't, because he doesn't exist.
He does. He appeared when I looked at the Chinese tile.
The Chinese tile? Good. Look at your Chinese tile now. Make him appear.
You're trying to make a fool of me. A liar.
You'll do as I tell you. Look at that tile. Go on.
All right, I will.
Now, what do you see?
Nothing but the design.
Yes, and that's all you're going to see.
No. The design is fading. It's getting dark. Dark. Nothing but blackness.
Mark, I heard the front door. Someone just came in.
Yes.
Those footsteps. That's just how he came in the last time.
Perhaps, but I doubt if it's...
Good evening.
Oh! Oh, it is Demore.
You remember me, Laura?
Yes. You've changed a great deal, but it is you.
Mr. Weldon, it's been 10 years since I've seen you.
Demore. Then you're not dead. There must have been some mistake when they identified you.
Not dead.
You escaped. Someone must have been identified instead of you. That's the only explanation.
It depends on what you choose to believe, Mr. Weldon. I brought a guest with me.
My father.
Dr. Bryan, I'm sure you know these people quite well. Of course you do.
What's he saying? He's talking to my father.
That's right, Kathy. Unfortunately, you cannot see him. But he's here. Aren't you, Doctor?
Demore, what are you up to?
What do you think?
If you come back here to make trouble...
Trouble? No. I've come back because someone wanted to know the truth. And I brought the doctor back for the same reason. Doctor, before these others, I want you to tell us who murdered you. Who murdered you?
Mark! You shot him.
Yes.
Why? Why?
He's dangerous. A maniac.
That's not the reason. It's because you murdered my father, and you don't want us to know.
All right, Kathy. I did kill him.
Mark!
It doesn't make any difference now. This maniac has planted suspicion in your minds. You would have found out sooner or later.
Mark!
Yes, I killed him. For you, Laura. I loved you. But that's over now. It's been over for a long time. I know what to do now. And it's going to be very simple. Thanks to our friend lying there.
What are you going to do?
Don't you know, Laura? It's so simple. Your bodies must be found in such a condition that they will be certain Damore killed you. And then I'll tell them how I shot the homicidal maniac to protect myself.
It's the same way he killed my father.
Yes, Kathy.
You won't die, Catherine.
Damore.
Did you think you could kill me, Weldon?
Damore.
Do you think those shots will stop me?
Don't you come near me. Stand back.
Nothing will stop me, Weldon.
The gun. It's empty. No, don't. Let go of me.
I saw the bullets strike Damore. They hit him, but they didn't stop him from lurching toward Mark and seizing him by the throat. As they fell to the floor, the kerosene lamp fell off its table. It might have been the wind, but I believe otherwise. I'm almost certain it was my father. In a moment, the drapes were on fire, and the whole place was blazing. I screamed to my mother to leave. She ran with me out of the blazing building into the storm that raged outside. 2 weeks later, my mother came into the hotel room where we were staying.
I've just come from the police, Kathy.
Well, Mother?
Only one body is positively identified.
Whose?
Mark's.
The other body?
They haven't been able to find it in the rubble.
I don't believe they ever will.
But, Kathy, the police checked with the authorities at the state institution. It seems that some of the patients did escape at the time they had the fire there 2 years ago. It's possible that Damore was among them.
It's possible, but I doubt it.
You think Damore died 2 years ago?
Yes, Mother. Don't you?
Well, friends, I guess you've met ghosts before, but I'm sure this is the first time you've ever met a crazy spook. Or don't you think Dennis Damore was a ghost? Well, there's only one way to find out if ghosts really exist. Just to ask one to haunt you sometime. You'll be sure to listen, won't you? Until next week, then. Good night. Pleasant dreams.
Inner Sanctum has come to you through the worldwide facilities of the United States Armed Forces Radio and Television Service.
That's our Strange Tale for this week. I'll be back next Sunday with another story. In between now and then, you can find more from Inner Sanctum Strange Tales, everything else Relic Radio at relicradio.com. If you'd like to help support this and all of the shows, help keep them coming every week, you can donate through the website or visit donate.relicradio.com. Your support makes it all possible. Thanks to those who have helped out. Thanks for joining me today. I'll be back next Sunday with another episode of Relic Radio's Strange Tales.